Come, let us meditate like a Jedi. This morning, let's explore the seventh of 28 passages, the meditation classic, Great Garuda in Flight, composed by the great Buddhist reformer Prahevajra. The path of perfect purity cannot be conditioned by intellectual illusions. The self-originated pristine awareness transcends the limitations of words. In the direct experience of the timeless perfect essence, conceptual thought arises just like a shadow of a material form. This could feel like unrelated disparate statements. This was composed not as a treatise, not as an essay, but as a series of 28 blurbs, one recited before each meditation session, not as a substitute for the wisdom gleaned from simply noticing and relaxing in harmony with the cycles of our breathing, but as a quick reminder, because reminders can be useful. The path of perfect purity cannot be conditioned by intellectual illusions. Try though one might, we cannot think our way or believe our way to nirvana. The self-originated pristine awareness transcends the limitations of words. Awareness is one of many synonyms for mindfulness. Pristine is a metaphor of meditation, or in other words, of the emptiness that is revealed by meditation. And for that to make sense, I need to rely upon a visual aid. Both this teaching text and these visual aids are available as PDFs for free download. The front of our brain, namely the medial and dorsolateral regions, are responsible for active focus and active analysis. We overuse them at our peril, for fatiguing our prefrontal cortex induces the symptoms of depression and triggers our amygdala, the seat of cowardice, crankiness, and competition. Fortunately, neither the amygdala nor the prefrontal cortex constitute the entirety of our central nervous system. Consider, if you will, our autonomic nervous system, or also known as our spinal cord. Every time we inhale, we have evolved to automatically access its middle bit, known as the sympathetic nervous system, which has evolved to help us to notice in a very special way. To notice vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly mind's antics of seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, smelling, and the like, including the full spectrum of human emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings. What do I mean by the full spectrum? Our mind's capacity to notice the external and the internal, the physical and the mental, the pleasurable and the painful, the interesting and the boring, the glorious and the grotesque. Well, what are we to do with that which we notice? Let's see, did I make a mistake here? Okay. Let's see, let's make sure this fits on the page. Good. Every time we exhale, we have evolved to automatically access the end bits of our spinal cord, kind of like bookends on an unfilled shelf. This is known as our parasympathetic nervous system, and it has evolved to help us to physically relax and mentally release to such a degree that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel less stressful, less permanent, and less defining. But what about the purity we just mentioned? Complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically. Therefore, it should not come as great surprise that in every human civilization we see figures of speech. Are there figures of speech specialized for meditation? Every time we relax into our exhalation, that which we noticed during our previous inhalation could fleetingly feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. The cunning use of the preposition as lets us know that this is a simile. But a simile is only as effective as it is relatable. Therefore, we must ask the question, what? What is a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although could look tantalizing to the eye, feels non-graspable to the hand. And so we see that emptiness or voidness or vastness or purity is just a metaphor for the fleeting experience of intangibility latent within each exhalation. For the essence of mindfulness is to simply silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb watch. Each time we feel our chest swell as we inhale. And the essence of meditation is to simply silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb rest each time we feel our chest sink in exhalation. Let's return to this morning's teaching text. We are returned. We are told that on one hand, we cannot think our way or believe our way to nirvana. We can only notice and relax our way to nirvana. But then we are also reminded of the opposite, that neither beliefs nor thoughts, and for that matter, neither emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, or imaginings can inhibit our practice. They are not impediments to practice. They are not indictments. Noticing and relaxing transcends all visual objects, all auditory phenomena, all kinesthetic phenomena, or all olfactory phenomena, all gustatory phenomena. Whatever is going on in our lives, be it glorious or grotesque, we can notice it and relax, and to a certain degree, make peace with it. But what, you might ask, are we to do when our nation is enduring a rise of fascism and we see our neighbors set upon by fools and fiends cosplaying as soldiers? The more authentically we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more we cannot help but experience empathy. The more we cannot help but experience kindness of intention and communication, conduct, and commerce. The more we practice mindfulness and meditation, the more our choices, utterances, and deeds could flow from love's centered spontaneity, not from the extremes of calculated contrivance or random scatteredness, but from a place of flow, from a place of centered spontaneity. This is love in action. This is expedient means generated by a practice of mindfulness and meditation. Therefore, we do not use mindfulness and meditation to close our eyes and rock back and forth and go to a happy place. We use mindfulness and meditation to respond in the most beneficial manner for all parties concerned, to protect our neighbors and to help the villains who are harming them to pull their heads out of the warm, dark, smelly places they tend to keep them. Wouldn't that be nice? In the direct experience of the timeless perfect essence, conceptual thought arises just like a shadow of the material form. So we've talked a great deal about thought. How thought is not the tool to enlightenment, but that it's neither a hindrance to enlightenment. That is just a feature. Any scientist who specializes in atmospheric phenomena will tell you that clouds are necessary. They're a feature of a functioning biosphere. When I was a child, and I used to watch reruns of Star Trek, the original series, though I hold it in a place in my heart with great affection, it was cringeworthy, and the science was off, and they never depicted a planet with an atmosphere. You could always see all the continents and all the bodies of water unobstructed by cloud formations. But many years have elapsed. More than 60 years have elapsed, or about 60 years have elapsed since that show first aired, about 59 years. And our knowledge, the general knowledge of atmospheric phenomena has evolved. Similarly, as people who are enthusiastic or at least curious about mindfulness and meditation, we have to recognize that the presence of perceptions, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings are not an indictment. They're just the way our minds evolved to work. Our job is not to ignore them. Our job is not to repress them. Our job is not to concentrate on them. Our job is to dance with them by noticing and relaxing in harmony with the phases of our breathing. And to do this vulnerably, passively, viscerally, randomly, and fleetingly. To cooperate, as it were, with our autonomic nervous system that over the centuries has earned the nickname of our Buddha nature. Consider the phrase timeless perfect essence. As we breathe in, we notice time. As we relax into our exhalation, we notice timelessness. Similarly, as we breathe in, we can notice birth. As we breathe out, we can notice birthlessness. As we breathe in, we can notice change. As we breathe out, we can notice changelessness. As we breathe in, we can notice death. As we breathe out, we can notice deathlessness. This is just a series of metaphors to describe how we are wired to let go during each exhalation. Just as the pendulum of a grandfather clock persists in swinging both left and right, and just as if we are to live, we must continually inhale and exhale, similarly our minds must continually oscillate between the two extremes of noticing and releasing. One is not an indictment, the other is not an exoneration. They are both required. Just as a bird requires both its wings to take to the skies. Having completed this morning's opening lesson, we can now shift gears. It is Obi-Wan Kenobi Wednesday morning. Come, let us meditate like a Jedi after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is the Dzogchen Sunday Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I've harnessed my autistic special interests as well as my ADHD hyperfocus so that I could spend about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of meditation so that I can become your personal, nerdy, neurodivergent guide to nirvana. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. For the remainder of this morning's live stream, let's practice mindfulness and meditation. If you, like me, are prone to arthritis, I encourage you to gently adjust your legs once every 15 minutes or so. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist meditation or philosophy, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window. And for I tend to check for questions about every 5 minutes or so. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist philosophy or meditation, do not hesitate to type your question in great detail in the chat window, for I tend to check for questions about once every 5 minutes or so. You have taken your first step into a much larger world. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 11 hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.